means that there we develop products and tools that help really millions of people to be safe online. And then we have GSEC Dublin, which is our hub for trust and safety teams. So that means that the teams there work across multiple topics, including child safety, ad safety, misinformation, election integrity, and so on. Then we have GSEC Malaga, that is our cybersecurity center in Europe and a hub for collaboration and knowledge sharing with security experts. The next slide, please. So at GSEC, we have a clear approach to safety engineering, and I would like to introduce you to this approach. So first of all, we try to try to understand the problem. So we ask and listen present and future threats to the safety of the web, and because we all know privacy and security is a complex topic, and user needs are nuanced. So this might change over time, and this is important to understand really where the problems are. Then we develop, based on this knowledge, we develop new solutions, and we empower also the ecosystem so that also the ecosystem works on keeping themselves safe. And at the same time, we also work on partnerships that help us share the knowledge and also multiply our impact worldwide. Next slide, please. So, and let me show how some of our work at GSEC fits into the larger picture. So at Google, our goal is to build more helpful products for everyone. But helpfulness is not worth anything if our users' data isn't secure and private. So as a company with billions of users, we know that it's our responsibility to keep their private information safe. And to achieve that, we engineer and employ one of the most advanced security infrastructures in the world. Next slide, please. So, and how do we do that? We do that through our built-in security, which automatically detects alerts and protects users from a wide range of security threats. For example, Chrome protects users from malware and dangerous sites and warns the user if the credentials have been compromised. So our philosophy is that you shouldn't have to be security expert to feel safe on the web. So Chrome is secure by default. It gets updated automatically every 6 weeks, so our users always get the latest security features and fixes. And for more important security bugs, the fix will be pushed within 24 hours. Next slide, please. So you might ask yourself, why do we do that? So we understand that privacy is important, and also needs to be personal. And different people have different preferences. This is why it is important for companies like Google to build powerful controls that give people real choice in the matter of how their data and also their safety is managed. And a good example for this is the Google account. So if you might ask yourself, so the Google account is a central place where Google users can find their privacy and security controls, and easy to use tools like Dashboard and My Activity, which give users transparency over the data collected from their activity across Google services. Next slide, please. And an additional example is our the safety check that was developed by our Chrome team. So this can be found in settings, and here users can quickly confirm the safety of their experience in Chrome. So with only one quick click, it will flag if safe browsing is turned off. It will check if your version of Chrome is up to date, if malicious extensions are installed, and it will tell you if the passwords you have asked Chrome to remember have been compromised, and if so, how to fix the problem. Next slide, please. So I explained to you very briefly our approach, and a key component of this is the partnership. And now it's the moment I hand over to our partner Public.io, who will run you through our platform agnostic account security training, which will give you some really hands-on recommendations how you can be safer online and keep your accounts safe against any sorts of attacks, cyber attacks or phishing attacks. So, and with that, I hand over to Stefan from Public.io.
Thank you, Stefano, for the introduction, and I'm happy to take over from now with the rest of the presentation. Exactly. So as you indicated, we're happy to partner with the Google Safety Engineering Center and to deliver cybersecurity workshops across Europe. We know you have lots of experts in those centers, subject matter experts that help guide your work on cybersecurity, and we are intervening to bring really this message across various geographies and various groups. Our ambition is to share recommendations and best practices, and we're doing so in a way that is very actionable and then can be implemented by people who are at higher risk of targeted cyber attacks. So this being said, our goals for today are the following. First, we aim to increase your awareness of online security threats that you might face during your time, especially online. Then we want to show you ways to help effectively protect yourself online from all sorts of security threats. And finally, we want to help you implement some specific solutions. Some of them will be technical, some will be more simple to implement in order to optimize your security, again, of your devices, especially while you're online. In order to do so, we have developed a framework that was specifically designed for politically exposed persons that contains two categories. On the one hand, we have a series of attack vectors. Those are ways by which cyber hackers can try to harm you, to harm your data, to access your data online. This is pretty comprehensive, so we will focus on three aspects of the attack vectors of this framework, and then we will discuss ways to defend yourself from those attacks. There are also quite a few, but we focus on the three most actionable items you can implement right away. So let us start with the attack section of our framework. And let's start with the issue of malware. Malware was briefly discussed already. It's really malicious logic, malicious code that is implemented in order to harm your device and eventually to, for instance, access your information. Then we have phishing. Phishing is a form of social engineering, and it's a way hackers use to, again, trick you into doing a specific action and access your data, access your systems, and compromise them. And finally, we have third-party data breach, which is data breach that happens when a third-party service provider or third-party vendor is able to access someone's data, access your data specifically, and this data is often revealed or exposed on the internet. So those are the three of the very common ways cyber attackers can harm you. And I would like to show you a few more details about the specific attack vectors, starting with phishing and a few numbers. First of all, some statistics. There were more than 200,000 unique phishing websites that were identified in 2021 alone. And this number almost doubled since 2020. So it's a staggering number, and it's fortunately on the rise. 1 in 99 emails sent is indeed a phishing attack. That means approximately a 1% attack rate. And what is even more worrying is that about 30% of those phishing emails that are in a user's mailbox end up being open. This, of course, increases the likelihood of a phishing attack succeeding. And indeed, a large portion of data breaches occur on account of phishing. Now, in order to make phishing successful, cyber attackers use a variety of tactics, mostly two of them, which we will discuss now: visual confusion on the one hand, and persuasion tactics on the other hand. With visual confusion, it's about tricking the user into doing an action that he or she doesn't want to by creating obviously confusion. And here's an example for you. I'd like you to have a quick look at those two screenshots and try to see which one of those is real and which one is fake, or specifically saying which one is a phishing attempt and which one is a legitimate attempt at obtaining your security code. And it's not that easy actually to see at first sight. The first one, the one on the left, is real, while the one on the right is fake. Actually, the only way you can figure out which one is real and which one is fake is by looking very carefully at the URL shown here, specifically on the right side. You see on the right side that the website, the domain is http://com.pk. It's not google.com like it is on the left side. That is a clear sign that this is a phishing attempt, and you should be extremely careful. You should not enter your security code in this specific case, contrary to the left side. Now, why is that so important? It's so important because two-factor authentications or multi-factor authentication are actually good ways to increase a user's safety online. But hackers have already found ways to hijack this possibility and this safety measure. And they're doing so, again, with visual confusion. And in the specific example, so if a user were to enter his or her password, in the example on the right, the hacker or the cyber attacker would have both the username and the password of the person, but also the one-time security code sent to the user's telephone. So it would allow, in this case, the hacker to access the person's data with all the consequences that might be. A second example of phishing is persuasion. And here's an example for a persuasion tactic that was implemented again by hackers. And it's basically dealing with three factors. First of all, the first factor is urgency. In this specific example, this is prompting the user to act immediately. It's a sense of urgency. It's reinforced by the red color as well. And the user needs to act immediately. Otherwise, there is a chance of her data being compromised, exposed on the internet, leaked, and obviously all the consequences one can imagine, data being accessed, etc. So there's a fear of loss that is very strong. And lastly, it's also showing a sign of authority. Specifically, it's using here the branding of Google or Gmail to propel and prompt the person to act immediately. But this could also be a message that would come from a government authority, from a bank, or any other authoritative figure that creates trust in the mind of the person receiving this email. And this is something cyber attackers understand very well, of course, and they're playing on all those factors to have people act fast, without second thought, and feel compelled to do so. All right. Now, AI has been in everyone's mouth especially in the past few months or past year, with the advent of generative AI. And cyber attackers have also leveraged the opportunity offered by AI to make their attack more sophisticated and also increase the scale at which those attacks are conducted. So I'd like to mention 4 examples here of AI-powered cyber attacks. The first one is AI-powered phishing. With AI-powered phishing, cyber attackers have the ability to generate messages that are highly personalized and do so at scale. So it's, again, leveraging technology to cause harm. AI-powered malware follows the same logic. Here, we're using AI technology to basically clip the malicious intent of a malware software. And what we're doing is we are changing basically the appearance of the attack, but keeping the malicious attempt. So again, this is something AI can help us, or can help cyber attackers do. The same applies for AI-enhanced botnets. Those can be highly coordinated and also enhanced using artificial intelligence. And the last one, which I think is very interesting, is so-called prompt injection. Prompt injection is a way for cyber attackers to trick a large language model to act in a certain way by providing specific prompts. And it's dangerous because in some cases, in certain cases, it can make the model act in a certain way that might even lead to the revealing of specific information. So again, cautious is is required here. Also, when you are connecting your personal data to such systems, make sure you trust the providers and always use a good amount of caution. Now, after we've discussed the vector attacks, the vector of attacks and in ways that cyber attackers can harm you, I'd like to present some specific measures that you can implement to increase your safety online. So we will discuss 3 of the main measures that we recommend you take immediately. The first one is device and system security. Device and system security basically means that you need to implement especially software solution to keep your devices safe. That means installing an antivirus or anti-malware software and making sure that the softwares and the operating system installed on your device is always kept up to date. So do not delay the updates and always make sure, if you're prompted to do so, to also restart your device to make sure the latest version of the software is indeed installed. Another way to increase your safety, and especially the safety of your devices, is to check for the functionality to remote lock or remote wipe your devices. This applies for your phone. It also applies, could also apply for your laptop, for instance. The functionality is available on many operating systems. In some cases, you need to speak to your system administrator, especially if you're having a business device, because there might be some activities or there might be some requirements that are applied from the IT administrator side. And if you are operating a website, especially, I'd like to point out to Project Shield, which is a service provided by Google, a free service that uses Google technology to help protect, especially news and election websites, from DDoS attacks. DDoS are distributed denial of service attacks. If you're interested in this specific option, you can check the link shown on the screen for more information. And of course, my colleagues will be happy to assist you if you have additional questions. Finally, one last option to add another layer of security to your online activity is using so-called VPNs, virtual private networks. So virtual private networks, it's a technology that creates a secure and encrypted connection over the internet, and it does so by creating a tunnel between, on the one hand, your device, and on the other hand, the VPN server to which you attempt to connect. And this tunnel will basically be the way by which all your traffic passes in an encrypted way. So it's a way to add, obviously, a layer of security and making sure that no one can access your data. There are a few benefits provided by VPNs. The first one is, of course, increasing your online privacy by allowing you to hide your IP address, or if you want, concealing a digital footprint. This is especially important to using a VPN when you are using public Wi-Fi, because the security of public Wi-Fi is sometimes less than the security you might have at your office or at home. So you want to add a layer of data encryption to safeguard your data from hackers. And it's obviously a way also to access geographically origin restricted content. Now, there are a few things you need to pay attention to if you want to implement a VPN solution, if you want to select a VPN. The first one is to look for a service provider that has a strict no logs policy. So that means that your data, your logging data specifically, will not be stored. Then you need to select a service provider that has server in locations that fit your specific needs. And you need to pay attention to the speed and bandwidth provided by the VPN operator. This is a responsibility, of course, of the VPN operator to guarantee fast enough connection, even in times of peak usage. And the VPN operator has to do so by balancing traffic among different servers for a given location. How do you select a VPN provider? You need to pay attention to the reputation of that specific provider. There are lots of ranking available online, so we recommend that you check those rankings depending on your specific needs. There are free solutions, there are also paid for solutions. In any case, you need to pay attention to the way your data is being handled, and also, for instance, whether you agree to marketing content or not with your data. The second aspect and the second activity you can implement to protect yourself is by conducting or by taking part in user training and user awareness sessions, such as this one. So you're already taking a step in the right direction. We encourage you to take part in further sessions and also to stay abreast of the development in this field. You can read up on your national security agencies' best practices or the annual report on the state of cybersecurity. And you can also test your knowledge by taking, for instance, quizzes, attempting to test your knowledge on cybersecurity. One way actually to do so is by using the one of the quizzes offered by Google. You can also check the address shown on the screen right now. And that will obviously increase your awareness of the potential dangers and the tactics used by hackers. And finally, the last thing I would like to mention is adopting good cyber hygiene practices online. There are a few things you need to keep in mind. This revolves around password hygiene and logging safety mostly. The first thing you want to do is you want to use strong passwords. Or even better, you can use passphrases, which are really long string of characters that makes sense, that is easy to remember. It's a way to have an increased security while making it easier for you to remember. Even better so is using a password manager to keep your passwords or your passphrases secure. A password manager also offers the advantage to the ability to generate passwords for your specific needs, and not only securing them and saving them. You can decide on the level of security you need, and the length of the password will be adapted accordingly. So use a password manager. And the last recommendation is to use multi-factor authentication, or also called two-step verification, where you combine your password or your passphrase, and of course your username, with another layer of security or verification. This could be a physical security key, which we will discuss in a minute. This could be requesting code sent to your mobile phone, or it could be other ways of identification, such as biometric identification. Now, in order to give you a full picture of the measures you can implement to stay safe online, I'd like to introduce you to the Google's Advanced Protection Program, which is really a program meant for people with higher risk of being target of cyber attacks, and that leverages also technology to increase user safety online. So it helps prevent unauthorized access to your account, of course, and it does so by implementing physical cybersecurity keys, which we will discuss in a second. So not only are we, or is Google really ensuring that there is no way to hijack your data when you are logging into your accounts, but it's also adding a series of additional protection on your account, additional malware protection, additional checks on the apps you might be using if you have an Android phone, etc. It's something to look at. Again, you need to implement a physical protection security key. This could be a USB version. It also exists as a Bluetooth version. And if you're interested, you can acquire those keys with many vendors online. If you don't have the ability to acquire those keys, you can also apply for Yubico's Secure It Forward program. You can actually check this program by scanning the QR code shown now on the screen. It's a way to access the keys. They have a program where they're also providing keys for people who can't purchase them. Finally, if you are unable to and I just wanted to add that those cybersecurity keys, security keys, follow the FIDO standards, and they do work on other platforms, of course, besides Google. Here's an example of the few platforms you can use cybersecurity keys to log in. So passwordless login, and there are more and more providers being added to this list regularly. Now, if you don't have the ability to register for the Advanced Protection Program, you can also enroll for the Enhanced Protection Program, which is another service provided by Google, which adds basically a few layers of protection to your account. Again, malware protection, scanning of additional scanning of risky-looking attachments to your emails, etc. If you are interested in enrolling for this program, you should follow, again, the link shown on the screen or scan the QR code. Google requests that you provide email addresses of accounts that require a higher amount of security, and you should provide those email addresses by following the form that you can access by scanning the code. So this is also handled in a confidential manner. Right. Besides the Google platform, you might be using services from Meta or from Microsoft. Obviously, this includes Facebook. When talking about Meta, Meta has a range of best practices for security that you can review. And they also have a specific offering for Facebook called Facebook Protect, which is targeting people who have higher security needs or who are at a higher risk of being target of security attacks. So do check Facebook Protect if you want to enroll. It's free for people with eligible accounts, with eligible security needs. And in the case of Microsoft, you might want to consider also enrolling for the Account Guard program, which provides also higher level of security for politically exposed persons, as well as people with higher security needs. So do check the Account Guard program offered by Microsoft. And that pretty much rounds up this training on cybersecurity training best practices. Thank you very much. And Brian, back to you now.
Thank you, Stefan. That was really a good session. I'm sure we learned quite a bit in there. I want to move my next question to friend Celia. Maybe this is more about Africa. So I know Stefan has talked about the threat of AI. And and in Africa, it's something that is trending. So I wanted to find out from how is Google investing in Africa to safeguard its users, especially activists?
Oh, thank you so much. I think it's such a pertinent question. So Google actually celebrated its 25th birthday this week. And for 16 of those 25 years, Google has been operating on the continent. So we have a physical presence in Nigeria, South Africa, in Kenya, where I am, and also in Ghana, which is where we have our AI Research Center. And so the AI Research Center has been in Ghana since 2018, actually. It's existed for quite a while. And these are African PhD students, researchers, and scientists who have been actively working to leverage AI to solve some of the continent's most pressing challenges. So they're developing technologies that do everything from satellite imagery that is being used by governments and NGOs to do things like urban planning, and disaster response as well, to flood forecasting and wildfire prevention. They're also using data to do things like locust detection so that farmers have the ability to better predict what will happen and prevent crop infestations, right? Because agriculture is such an important sector here on the continent. And so I think the fact that AI is already around on the continent, Africans have been using AI for quite some time, is exciting, and it's important to know. We have on the continent around 600 million people actively using the internet regularly, and we expect another 300 million more to come online just in the next 2 years, right? And so we have a lot of work to do collectively to help build up the digital ecosystem. Because what we know is that when more people come online, it unlocks economic opportunities. People are bringing their businesses online, connecting with their communities. And so there's a lot to be done to make sure that people are connected and have extra access, right? And equitable access, affordable access. So we have investments to help support the infrastructure development on the continent through a subsea cable called Equiano. And this cable connects Europe all the way down around West Africa and down to South Africa. And it's predicted to help reduce the cost of internet in many of the countries that it's touching, particularly in Nigeria and in South Africa, and to enhance connectivity, which is extremely important, right? Because we can't even talk about AI and internet if we don't have access to the internet and affordable access. And the other area that we focus on is around talent development. So we have programs that provide training and boot camps and digital skills training to entrepreneurs and individuals. So far, we have trained 6 million people on the continent in 25 different countries. And we're looking to do more, right? We have a Hustle Academy program, Hustle, Hustle. I'll put the link here in the chat group for anyone interested. But this is to provide entrepreneurs, specifically African entrepreneurs, with the skills to bring their businesses online, develop marketing strategies, pitch for financing. We know that access to capital is extremely difficult on the continent. And so it's customized for the problems that we face here on the continent around entrepreneurship that can help us to unlock some of those opportunities. And we also have a booming startup ecosystem on the continent, which, you know, we all know here, we have a lot of entrepreneurial and ingenuity, entrepreneurial spirit and ingenuity. And so we have a startup accelerator program that accompanies these tech startups along their journey through funding, mentorship, and we also lend Google's expertise, right, to help these startups to get to the next level and secure additional onward funding. So there's a variety of different activities that we have been pursuing, primarily around these different pillars that I mentioned: the infrastructure, talent development, and innovation with the AI Research Center. And I think the regulatory space is really the most important part, right? Working to develop partnerships with governments across the continent so that we have legislations that are really anchoring the technologies that are being developed, particularly around AI. It is a very nascent space on the continent, but globally as well. And our CEO has said that AI is too important not to be regulated, and regulated well. So a lot of what I'm doing and what my peers are doing for Google is working with institutions such as the African Union to see, can we develop some AI regulatory frameworks that will provide some guardrails as this AI technology is evolving and being developed, right? To mitigate some of the risks that Stefano and Stefan mentioned, right? Because AI can be used to address some problems, but it can also be used for bad causes like malware and phishing, and to really cause some negative effects. And so how do we develop policies that will provide those guardrails that are necessary for the innovation to thrive? We don't want to stifle the innovation, but we also want to protect our society as well. And so we want to be a constructive partner in those conversations also. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Brent. That's really informative. Go back to Stefano. So Brent has just talked about all the people that we expect to get online and the proposed developments, digital transformation. I want to find out, what role does user education play in enhancing digital resilience, especially for users in Africa who have a high level of, let me call it, digital illiteracy? How can user education help enhance their digital resilience? Stefano, would like to hear what you have to say about that.
So is the question for me, Brian, or is it for Stefan?
For Stefano, for you.
For me. So are we talking here about, so basically So what the approach is of Google to security, basically. So how we're making sure.
So I was wondering that how is Google trying to educate, to build the literacy of African users? Prin talked about how we expected a large number of users to join to get online, and there's startups that are coming up. What is Google doing to educate users to make sure that they are aware of the threats and the risks that are online, but also take advantage of the opportunities that the internet will be bringing to them?
So what we do is, as we're doing now, is organizing through our partnerships, basically, any sorts of educational programs and workshops in order to make sure that, how Priscilla said, that we work with communities so that the communities really are aware of what opportunities they have in order to stay safe online. And this is basically what we achieve through any sorts of training and programs like the training that we have put together with public.io that was presented today. Because basically, it's important that the people understands really the basics of how to stay safe online. And of course, using security keys is a very, very important way of protecting themselves, but also in general creating awareness, because as Stefan mentioned, the main risk is really being a target of a phishing attack, and that happens quite often. And through creating awareness, I think people can really learn how to be more cautious when they are navigating the web and also the mobile device.
Thank you, Stefano. Maybe for Stefan, I could ask. We know that cyber online safety represents cross-border challenges that require global solutions. What are the opportunities for African tech entrepreneurs and policymakers?
Yeah, it's a good question. I mean, it's true that cybersecurity is indeed a cross-border challenge. It's a global challenge. Every country is really dealing with it, and it's not confined to the boundaries of a specific nation. But so on the one hand, it does require global solutions, global technology solutions. On the other hand, it's also very important to pay attention to the local specificities and the local requirements of the countries where this is implemented. And I think this is especially true in Africa. And this can be seen, for instance, in the case of content moderation. You have in Africa an enormous amount of languages, I think close to 2,000 languages. And those languages, obviously, it makes it a very rich background of languages, but at the same time, it's also quite a challenge for automated content moderation, because those systems do work or are supported by AI. And we know that the training data that AI systems have been fed with is really based on the English language to a large extent. So it includes, obviously, the ability to understand English content in a much better way, but it also brings with it potentially a series of biases or a series of cultural preferences that might not make sense for other geographies and that do not always function with other languages. So if you have a language that is underrepresented in a large language model within an AI system, you're not able to provide a very good content moderation, or the content moderation is not as good as it would be, for instance, in English. So it's important to be aware of that. I think this is a technology challenge that local entrepreneurs can really work on. It's also a challenge for regulators to pay attention to that. And I think besides the area of content moderation, which is of course an important one, it applies also to safety technology in a broader sense. By safety tech, I mean, tech that is used to trace, maybe to locate or facilitate the removal of illegal content online, but also tech to verify the age of users, or tech to identify and stop the spread of mis or disinformation, which is very also a major challenge we are really facing. And this technology, although it has obviously, it makes sense to develop it on a global scale, it should always be conceived in a way that understands and respects cultural differences and local preferences. And the platforms that really operate this technology should also pay attention that they do provide policies that are adapted to the specific needs and sensitivities of the various regions. So in Africa, I think there's a lot of potential, both for government and for businesses to follow this lead and to provide solutions catering to the needs of the local population.
Right, thank you. Maybe at this point in time, I'd like to take some questions from the guys that are listening in online. I have Kerry Ben Maweje. I would like to give him the opportunity to ask a question.
All right, thank you very much, Brian, and thank you, the team from Google. And my question is directed to Stefan Hoffman. Stephanie, thank you very much for your presentation. And you talked about awareness and training, again, and as a way of preventing the masses from the cyber attacks and all that. But we understand that Google is a very, very big tech giant and has a very big role it plays when it comes to security of all the users and its clients and even outside its clients. But as Google, what have you done to ensure that probably these trainings, this kind of awareness, which the communities? I'll tell you that me, I come from Uganda, but the only email they know is Google. Like, oh, are you using Gmail? Everyone talk about Gmail. Everyone talk about Google because you're a tech giant. So have you thought of a way of supporting communities to increase awareness among the masses that even if it's even inclusive technologies are met and realized by all persons? I also give an example that in Uganda, we have associations, we have alliances. Brian and I, for example, belong to one of the digital security experts. We raise awareness as we train, we troubleshoot, we fix. And sometimes one of the things, the biggest hurdles that we have to make is when we have to dig deeper into our pockets because we want to contribute to change to the environment, to the human rights offenders, to generally to the public. And then, but we sometimes lack support. So I don't know whether Google that's something that they are thinking of or they have done in the part of Africa and even in the African continent to make sure all these gaps are covered. Thank you very much.
I think the question was directly on me initially, but I think I will just provide public's vision on this question, and maybe Stefano or Princilia can also add, the aim of Google when providing those awareness sessions. I mean, for us, yes, again, this is something we see that it's a challenge to reach the masses really when it comes to cyber awareness. I think that's what you really pointed out to. I mean, we're having those sessions. How do we ensure that also the younger person who are not attending such trainings are aware of those dangers? It's a very good question. I mean, there are a few ways. I think first of all, it's important that the message starts to be spread, because once one person is aware of a danger and also of measures to be taken, the person usually tends to share also her knowledge with others, and then the information spreads naturally. That's one thing I've observed very much. So you're basically putting the wheel in motion, and I think that's already important and valuable per se. And there are also a series of resources that people can access, if they don't take part in such trainings, for instance. I mentioned one, which was the Google phishing quiz, the Jigsaw phishing quiz. It's a nice way to at least be aware of the danger, how a phishing attack might look like, etc. So I think, yeah, you're right. I mean, we need to do more work, and we need to reach out to more people. We're trying to do, I think, one step at a time, but I appreciate the importance of the topic.
I can add also basically the major thing is that in general Google wants to help and also reach all users, and it's important to make sure that all users worldwide are safe when using Google products. And that's basically comes back to what I was presenting in the beginning, really creating tools and developing products that make it easy to basically control one's privacy and also one's security. Because the easier basically the tools are that we are providing and developing, and that's really the pillar that I also mentioned. It's like empowering not only like Google, but also the whole ecosystem to really give controls, to make controls really not only working on security and safety per se, but also making sure that that the users are aware, and that basically they find information quickly and know what to do in case of an attack or any sorts of threats, and that they have the control over their own settings, basically, when it comes to privacy and security.
And just to add that we do have a program that we launched back in 2019 that still exists today. It's called the Web Rangers program. And it's currently active in Kenya, in Nigeria, and South Africa, and we are looking to expand it. But it's specifically this, Carrie. It is a digital literacy program aimed at equipping youth and parents also about online safety and about how to use the internet and how to protect themselves. So we do this campaign. We are trying to expand it to other regions as well.
Maybe to add on to the question, and also you've talked about the material and like the quiz that Stefan has mentioned. Are there opportunities, or is Google looking to localize some of this content to make sure that, because we know most of this material all the resources are produced in English. Is there an opportunity to localize it to local languages, Swahili, Luganda for Uganda, and the other African languages? Because it would be good to have that phishing quiz in more than just one language.
So far, the quiz is only available in English, but this is very valuable feedback. So thank you for that. So so far it is true. It is available in English because, as I said, so when we launched this type of initiatives, we tried to reach as many people as possible worldwide, and this is basically through English, but in some regions, and you're right. So probably one should also consider like a localization. But so far, the quiz that we presented is available only in English.
Yeah, hopefully, following this, one thing we could take out from this is maybe there will be an opportunity to localize some of these resources and quizzes. And maybe as we get to the end of this, I'd like to get some parting remarks. I'll start with Priscilla.
Thank you so much. I was actually just going to add that we did announce the launch of a product development center that will be based here in Kenya. So we've started the recruitment and hiring, and the specific purpose of this team is to localize content for the continent. And so to tailor some of the products specifically for Africans by Africans here on the continent. And so this is an initiative that is underway. It is brand new. We're just at the beginning stage, but we definitely recognize that it's important to do that. And AI actually is a tool that can help us to do this and to make our products more accessible to more people. So for example, Google Assistant is available in Swahili. Our chatbot, which is like ChatGPT, we call ours Bard, is also available in Swahili, and we're trying to make it more accessible to more people across the continent. And this is really Google's mission. Our mission is to make information universally accessible and helpful to more people. And we recognize that language is one of those key ways that we have to be able to reach more people. So we're working on it. We look forward to partnering with those who are open. And thank you so much for the opportunity to have this discussion.
Thank you. It's good that you recognize that language is one of the ways that the digital divide is actually affecting many users in Africa. I know Swahili is one of the major languages, but there are many more languages. It will be good to know that different languages will be added to this. Maybe Stefano, let's hear your pattern words. Remarks.
Thank you very much for having us here. I hope that the session that we have organized today has provided at least some recommendations and some insights on how people and especially people that have a higher risk of being targeted of attacks can protect themselves. I can mention, I would like to emphasize again, so what basically Stefan said, that there are specific programs that can be used and are available and are for free that can help high-risk users to be more protected online, like the Advanced Protection Program. We're also aware of the fact that you require security keys for that program. In case you can't access security keys or it's difficult to purchase them, please consider the form that was presented by Stefan, which is the Enhanced Protection Program, which doesn't require any sort of security keys, but adds a substantial layer of additional protection to the general already very high protection that Google products already have.
Thank you, Stefano. I was glad to have you here, and we will definitely look into making the use of the security keys available. I know CPESA received support from one of your colleagues, and we have a couple of security keys that we're willing to support any organization or individuals that can access me or can reach out to CPESA. We have some security keys from Google that we are very eager to share. Maybe some parting remarks from Stefan.
Yes, thanks again for hosting us and also for giving us this platform to provide this training. I hope it's been useful. Again, as public, we are quite passionate about bringing this knowledge across people, and in this sense, if there are any person in the call also that have also specific needs for training or have ideas how we can increase the reach with this training, feel free to reach out. I believe my contact details should be available on the CPESA website. So thanks to you and your organization for giving us a chance to share those best practices.
Thank you. Thank you all for joining us. And this was a really erudite conversation. I know that we will continue this conversation offline. And I hope and wish you a great day.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Goodbye. Thanks.
Bye. Bye-bye.